You're not going to wreck your life with one bad decision. I almost wish that were the danger. You'd see it coming. Most men don't ruin their lives, they misplace them. No disaster, no rock bottom, just a slow drift, one postponed year at a time, until the life you meant to build is gone and you never heard it leave. That's the part nobody warned you about. It doesn't hurt while it's happening. It feels like normal, like a normal Tuesday. That's the trap. Drift doesn't feel like failure. It feels like being busy. You're working, paying bills, staying productive, and the whole time you're rowing hard in the wrong direction, never noticing where you're headed because the cost of being a little off course doesn't come due for years. But by the time you feel it, you've already paid for it. Motion is not the same thing as direction. A man can spend 20 years moving and never once choose where he's going. So let's talk about that drift and how it actually starts. Why it's almost impossible to catch in real time. What it looks like in an ordinary week of your life. And how to honestly check your own course before 5 more years disappear on you. Because once you can see it, you can steer it. And steering it is the whole game. Welcome to The Useful Man, a channel about learning, growing, and staying useful in a world that gets stranger by the day. These are the field notes of life, not fantasy life, not privileged life, just life. These videos are about learning, growing, and becoming more capable in the world around you. Nobody wakes up one morning and decides to waste 10 years. That's not how it happens. People imagine their lives fall apart because of one giant mistake, one bad decision, one dramatic disaster. But most of the time, that's not what happens at all. Most people don't wake up one morning and decide to drive their life into a ditch. They just keep missing the exit. You postpone the goal for a year. You tell yourself you'll start when things calm down. You'll say you'll think about it in the next month. Then the next month becomes the next year. And the next year becomes 5. Drift doesn't arrive like a storm. It arrives like a slow current. The dangerous part is that the current usually feels comfortable. You still go to work. You still pay bills. You still show up. From the outside, everything looks fine. But underneath, you stop steering. A useful man understands that direction matters more than motion. Just because you're moving doesn't mean that you're headed where you want to go. Drift is difficult to see because it doesn't hurt immediately. If you drive your truck into a ditch, you'll know it. Everybody knows it. The tow truck knows it. The insurance company knows it. And your wife definitely knows it. If you miss your mortgage payment, you'll know it. But if your life drifts 1 degree off course this month, you won't notice a thing. Neither will anybody else. That's why drift is dangerous. The consequences are delayed. 1 degree becomes 10. 10 becomes 20. Then one day you wake up wondering why you're living a life you never planned. People think they're making no decision. What they're actually doing is making a decision every day. They're choosing not to choose. And eventually indecision becomes a direction of its own. A useful man knows that avoiding a decision doesn't eliminate consequences. It just hands the steering wheel to circumstances. Drift doesn't always look like failure. For years, I had goals. I just kept putting them off. One day, I looked up and realized I spent years being busy. Not lazy, busy. There's a difference. I wasn't sitting on the couch eating cheese puffs and watching daytime television. I was working, paying bills, taking care of responsibilities, doing all the things a grown man is supposed to do. The problem wasn't that I was standing still. The problem was I wasn't aiming. One more project, one more obligation, one more thing that needed my attention first. And before I knew it, years have gone by. Not because I made some terrible decision, because I kept telling myself I'd get to it later. That's the thing about drift. Later is one of the most dangerous words in the English language. Sometimes it looks like success. The promotion you never really wanted, the house you bought because it seemed like the next thing to do, the routine you've been living for 15 years because nobody ever stopped to question it. I met people who looked successful from the outside and completely lost from the inside. Good income, nice truck, good neighborhood, and if you ask them where they're headed, they look at you like you just asked them to explain quantum physics. They're busy, but they weren't directed. Motion and direction are not the same thing. A hamster runs all day too. That doesn't mean he's getting anywhere. A useful man occasionally stops running long enough to make sure that he's not sprinting in circles. And here's the scary part. Most people don't realize they're drifting until life hands them a receipt. A birthday, a divorce, a layoff, a health issue. Something shows up and suddenly the math becomes impossible to ignore. That's usually when people start asking questions they should have been asking years earlier. So how do you know if you're drifting? Simple. Answer a few uncomfortable questions. What am I actively working towards right now? Why am I working towards it? When was the last time I changed course intentionally instead of accidentally? If I keep doing exactly what I'm doing today, where will I be in 5 years from now? Most people never ask those questions, and honestly, I know why. Sometimes the answers are inconvenient as hell, because deep down, they already know the answers might make them uncomfortable, and that's okay. The goal isn't guilt. The goal is awareness. You can't correct a course you refuse to examine. A useful man isn't afraid of finding out if he's off course. He's afraid of staying off course because he refused to look. The good news is that drift is reversible. You don't need to burn your life down. You don't need a motivational seminar. You don't need a guru. You don't need a vision board. And you sure as hell don't need to spend $4,000 listening to a guy with perfect teeth telling you to believe in yourself. You need a direction, one direction, something you're consciously choosing. Because the moment you start steering again, the drift loses its power. The destination doesn't have to be perfect. The plan doesn't have to be perfect. The movement with intention beats wandering with hope every single time. The goal isn't to control every detail of life. The goal is to stop floating through it. A useful man doesn't leave his future, currents, trends, circumstances, or luck. He grabs the wheel, picks a direction, and starts moving on purpose. Thanks for spending some useful time with me. Go do something productive. Call somebody you care about and maybe clean out your refrigerator. That thing that looks like cake? Yeah, I think it was once meat. Hit the like button for me before whatever's in that container becomes self-aware. I'll catch you on the next one.